Hey, Rashad.
All right, welcome back to the show. My name is Rashad. I'm going to give you an agenda. This rough podcast up. I'm here with my good boy, Bailey. Bailey, how are you doing today, sir?
I ain't gonna lie, my brain is melted.
I'm glad, we could get this out of the way. You guys read the title. I won't waste any of your time. This is about the Lisa Leslie on the shop thing. Now, Bailey, he posted it. He went viral. And, he told me, he discussed with me beforehand, how, he was listening to it on his way home. And then, I told him about it, my thoughts on it. And, he was like, hey, what was going on? So, like, I told him my side of it. And, like we discussed it. So, with that double confirmation, Bailey decided that it was time to upload it to Twitter just to see what Twitter thought. And of course, as expected, Twitter exploded. And it became the discussion of the day. It took just a little of the focus off of Draymond and Jordan Poole in the basketball world for the day. So I guess just first things first, what are your just overall kind of reaction to everybody's reaction and stuff like that to Lisa Leslie? By the way, I'll drop the link to the episode in the bio so you guys can watch it yourselves and everything like that. But Bailey, what was your reaction to Lisa Leslie?
Well, I had hoped maybe that when I put it on a Twitter, the conversation would be a little more constructive. I knew there was going to be a lot of people that disagreed. Um, Lisa spoke on topics that are very commonplace in the W world, W space, W Twitter, wherever you would get your W content. And the first one was about highlighting NBA players who support the league. And she said that the W does not do that enough. And one of her direct quotes was, they're targeting the wrong people. That quote kind of rubbed people the wrong way a little bit. Because who are you targeting? Like who are they? You know what I'm saying? Like who are they targeting instead? Things of that nature. And if you watch a W game where there are NBA players in attendance, you're going to know they're there.
LeBron James,
LeBron, Grant Williams, Chris Paul, Devin Booker.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter who. Like when I went to the Sparks game, I think Amir Coffey was there. Lou Will came to a few dream games. Dwight Howard came to some dream games. Colin Sexton was at a dream game. Like you're gonna know they're there. Yeah, Josh Okogie was with him. And a lot of W Twitter and W fans think that the way they go about highlighting these players being in attendance sometimes takes away from the product. Either they put too much emphasis on it or they go to it too often and it just kind of gets in the way of the game. And I had a lot of conversations in group chats today about it. And there are some people that are in some of my group chats that I have mixed group chats. So these are not all W Twitter group chats. And one of my group chats features people that are more NBA fans, but they work in this type of environment. Like it's their career in marketing and things. And they talk about how she did make some valid points about the importance of that relationship. And I agree with them on that. And I agree with her on that. But also I think there's a balance to it. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think sometimes the W, and it's a business. It's absolutely business. Not saying it's not, but it's a sports business. And I think sometimes the W comes off to fans as so money minded, so growth minded that it gets away from what makes it itself. The certain things that make the W unique, it gets away from that, and because they're so business minded. And I've talked about it before. Kathy Engelbert is a businesswoman, but I do not think she has a great sports mind. She's got a great business mind. Don't think she has a great sports mind. And I think you see that sometimes in the partnerships she pursues and the marketing that they put up. Not all of that falls on her, but she's the commissioner, she's the figurehead, and all of it is under her. And so I think sometimes that really shows. And I think come back to Lisa's part, on it, I think that's part of what you're seeing is that sometimes it's a little too business minded. And I think both sides have parts where they're right. And I think the W's balance from the league is off on how it goes about these things.
I love first things first. I love how the shop they panned the camera to they cut to Draymond when she started talking about because obviously everybody knows about if you don't know, Draymond has a history kind of this back and forth for women's basketball. It was like one day, the first day he decided to watch women's basketball game was the Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark Sweet 16 matchup last year, 2 seasons ago. That's the first time he decided to watch a women's basketball game. And he goes, Paige and Caitlin, let's get it with the popcorn emoji. He doesn't tweet for another 2 to 3 hours the entire game. And then he goes, I have some suggestions for the WNBA. And he goes on this thing, and Sinead chimes in. I think Nectar did as well.
Sinead put him in his place.
It became this entire thing. And
Sinead roasted him.
And she was like, you don't think we've had these discussions before? And then I think Sinead and Draymond had a roundtable discussion on one of LeBron's networks on Uninterrupted or something like that. This has been a thing, long story short, for 2-3 years. So the fact that as soon as someone asked, I think it was Maverick who was hosting it this episode. When Maverick opened it up and asked about the WNBA, I was first confused about it because I was like why? Like, I don't know. It's such a kind of a basic question, an over asked question, especially on a shop. They ask it all the time, anytime there's any type of woman related to the WNBA. And like Lisa just isn't, salute to Lisa Leslie. She goes to the practice every now and then, take pictures and look cute at the practice and stuff, show up to the games and everything. And there's a legend in the game, icon, top 10 player of all time, correct? Flowers, first dunk it in the game. You do it. She was Dewana before Dewana, twice. Count that twice. But all those things are fine and dandy. I appreciate it so much. But when I think of Lisa Leslie now in 2022, I don't think WNBA reporter. I don't think WNBA space of just the current people who are keeping up with the game and are in the space and are in the circle. When I
think
feel
like
Lisa
she's
Leslie,
a little out of touch.
Well, when I think of Lisa Leslie, I think of NBA. I think of men's basketball analysis. I think of Big Three coach. I think of great basketball mind. I don't think of current WNBA reporter. I don't think of her when I think of LaChina Robinson. I don't think of her when I think of Andrea Carter. I don't think of her when I think of my dog. I don't think of her, Monica McNutt. I don't think of her when I think of Coach from Purdue. I don't think of her when I think of any of these women. I don't think of her when I think of Angel Gray, et cetera. I can keep going. Those are the people in the space. I don't always hear Lisa, chiming in on the way that a Swing Cash can do about UConn. If you asked her, like, just, Swing Cash also does, I believe, who does she do? She does analysis for CBS in some capacity. I'm trying to think of which level it is. I don't think it's the NBA since she works in the NBA, but I'm also not exactly sure if it's the WNBA. So it might just be college. But
I think it is.
Yeah. So she works in some capacity over there at CBS. And if you ask her about UConn, she'll tell you everything about UConn. I could expect that from her. Lisa Leslie, I don't get that from her. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, so that's not the person, long story long, that I would be asking about, the current landscape of the WNBA and how to improve it.
And I think also it's worth noting, like, Lisa has a very successful post-W career that's completely separate from the W.
Exactly.
Also a mother, like, she retired from the league, and from my perspective, and if I'm wrong, someone please correct me, like, when she retired, she stepped away from it for a while. Like, she was away from it for a while. And so now, like, I do think she's also coming in from a more business perspective. And again, I think she had some parts that were correct. But I think the W does a fine job of highlighting when male counterparts do something.
Well, that was also on LeBron. I mean, because Draymond is the one that says, we support more than anybody else. And I'm like, what? Like,
no,
shout out to Sabria for, pointing that out too. But like, Like that's not
Yeah,
even
no,
close. Like
no, that's a
the
very incorrect and bold
the
statement.
Chris Paul thing of like him getting the award. I don't even know if they gave an award this year because I like the Chris Paul one got so much kind of criticism on Twitter.
Yeah,
But
they just make up awards to give to people sometimes.
well, yeah, but that was like the Kobe Bryant Memorial
Yeah, we don't need that.
support of women. Like, thank you for supporting other human beings. Here's an award. You know, like it. But but yeah, man. So there's that. Anyways, I say all this to say, it was just a conversation with a lot of people who are out of touch, who just think they know what they're talking about. Like, and then this thing with so salute to Lexis Robinson. I appreciate all the access that she gave me for AU. Without her, I wouldn't have been able to, get that AU coverage that I got this past season over there in Vegas. Salute to Alexis for working with me on a couple other things. She's always great professional. But she also brought up the how come no one brought up LeBron, not supporting. People have been on LeBron and his lack of support for the W all season long, dating back to the WNBA draft night when he tweeted, "Man, why can't the players just come out? Why do they gotta wait 4 years?" And like they killed him that night. They killed him during the season for not showing up to any game and not really live tweeting. Like they even brought up it was one of LeBron's friends or the dude from Boardroom who does the podcast with Kevin Durant. Who's that? Eddie Gonzalez.
Mhm.
Eddie Gonzalez. He brings it up. The man, the Aces in the Storm, man. They played a good game last, and it's like, it's just funny because it's like people have these realizations and they say things that just say out loud. I don't watch the WNBA, but here's my opinion on it. And it's
Right.
like, stop doing that. And that's LeBron. LeBron has been doing that all year, this season especially. And people were getting on him for that, right? People were getting on LeBron for investing in the pickleball team with Draymond Green. They're like, the WNBA is right there, LeBron James. You are a billionaire. And you invest in all these other teams and stuff like that. Shout out to the Red Sox. Shout out to FC over there, whatever football club it is in Europe. And shout out to was it Liverpool? And
I couldn't tell you.
salute to the pickleball team you just picked up. Shout out to Blaze Pizza, right? But it's fake support, right? He brought
And
on Asia. Oh, go ahead.
I
Bro.
was gonna say, and this was part of what come up in one of my group chats is like, if it's not genuine, it's not worth going after. And I think that's another thing that a lot of W Twitter feels like with the MNBA being involved in the W. Sometimes it doesn't feel genuine. Um, and somebody made the counterpoint that, and Lisa spoke on this, and I think this was a good point. NBA players are millionaires. The W's during their off season, they could be anywhere in the world they wanted to be, and if they're at a game, that shows a level of commitment and respect for the game. That being said, you do have the ones like LeBron and even like Draymond to an extent. I do think Draymond's trying to get better. I will say, since that instant, I think he's trying to learn better. But like you have the guys like LeBron. I've heard KD comment on the W a few times, but not a whole lot. And a lot of the guys that really watch it aren't your big name stars that I've seen.
Grant
Yeah, like you got
Williams.
like Grant Williams, and again, some of the guys named
I,
earlier.
th- I think Ja is probably the biggest name that
Right.
because Ja actually kind of follows. Like he actually
And
like if you follow his tweets throughout the season, like he
he's
actually
live
kind of
tweeting,
knows
he's
what's going on.
watching, like,
He
and it
knows what's
and
going on.
Ja even tweets about like Caitlin Clark, Paige, like
Right.
he tweets about college ball too, which I think is cool. Um, but again, like there's levels to it. You know, if it's not genuine, which is hard to gauge, but if it's not genuine, we don't want it, and that's a sentiment I think is pretty
But I
prevalent too.
also think that mindset in particular can be a bit just off-putting because like I'm saying, like I remember I did a whole rant or what's the word, right? When rant, excuse me,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I
a
went blank.
rant.
It's been a long day. Went on a rant a couple of years ago about the whole Drake thing. When Drake posted the picture of him in the studio with the W hoodie, and they all
Mm-hmm.
was like, I hate men. Men, stop it. I hate men. Stay away from the space. I was like, hold on now. Like, this is like the biggest dude in the world right now. You know what I'm saying? And like, he's like kind of constantly, supported women's basketball. Like, I remember he was watching a random Louisville, you know what I'm saying, like Sweet 16 matchup. And he's like, good job, lady. And people were mad at that. And like, it's like, you can't do that to everybody who comes in. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you should allow space for people to be casuals. The only thing that I feel like is like, if people gonna be casuals, let people be casuals. I don't think you should let people be casuals and then let them have a strong opinion about the league, because then it just looks bad to people who aren't even casuals, who know nothing about it. And the only thing that they're seeing is this 10-minute, 15-minute segment at the end of the shop episode. Go ahead, Bailey.
And I think you hit it on the head bringing up the casual fans, and that's one thing Alexis did tweet earlier, that I agreed with her, and that a lot of people that work in these type of areas in our group chats were talking about the importance of a casual fan. And historically speaking, if you recall the study that came out, I think 2 years ago now, the Fan Project, there's never been room for the casual fan in women's hoop space or in women's sports space because of the lack of accessibility. You have to go through different levels to watch it. Now we're getting to a point where we're looking for an influx of casuals. 2The is kind of targeting. And oftentimes, Twitter, the diehards, the ones that have been here, and including myself at times, I'm guilty of this. Sometimes some of the moves that the league makes in marketing and promotion and who they're pursuing, it feels like they're shunning the diehards, or it feels disingenuous, or it feels like it's coming off in a way that doesn't truly represent the fans or the league. But also, this space isn't very casual friendly. And not only that, the league makes it hard for casuals to join because you have to have 4 or 5 different ways to watch a game
League
in a
pass
week.
is terrible.
You got to have League
League
Pass. You
pass
got to
is
have
terrible.
Prime Video. You got to have CBS Sport. You got to have all this. There's not just one place to go. Like NBA, you're going to have it on ABC, ESPN, or TNT. That's it. And League Pass if you have League Pass. The W's not like that. You have to go through a lot of different places. The lack of merch factors in. It makes, like, for example, if in 2021, you wanted to, you watch the finals, you saw Kalia Copper win finals MVP, you go to order her jersey, it says it'll be here in 3 months. Like, what is that? You know, and so
If you live in Atlanta and you go to the mall and you walk into the Champs, you know, you see, and thanks to Trae Young, it used to 3 years ago, it wasn't any Hawks jerseys in there. It's just Falcons and Braves. And now, thanks to Trae Young, thank you, Ice Trae. There's a Hawks jersey, a bunch of Trae Young jerseys. You might, I don't know if there will be a Falcons jersey now because Matt Ryan and Julio Jones are gone, but there'll probably be a Falcons t-shirt and a Falcons hat. And then, of course, a bunch of Braves World Series stuff. You have Ryan Howard there, the Rookie of the Year, All-Star first season. This is who Atlanta should be pushing. And you see, she has billboards in Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? But I just feel like, I say all that to say, you know, the way that, to go back to what you were saying about the WNBA's promotion, watch next April, like they're going to be like, hey, have you ever heard of this Ryan Howard person? And it's like, where has this been? Like, you know, it's like with the whole Asia thing now. It's like people are just discovering who Asia Wilson is.
Exactly. And I think,
but I want to ask you about that, Bailey, too, as well, because we only have a few minutes here. I did want to ask you about best player versus face of the league. Do you think I was hating when I was saying that Asia still isn't the best player in the world, but I can understand if someone says she's the face of the league?
who do you have as the best player in the world?
Stewie is still Stewie.
Okay. I think they're neck and neck. I think it comes down to a matter of preference. I think it's tossed up. So I have no problem with that opinion. And I do think Asia Stewart is and should be the face of the league. I don't think she's always treated as such.
Asia Wilson. Asia Wilson.
Yeah,
you said Asia Stewart, so I wanted to.
Oh, my bad. But I've literally been, I think I have tweets on file since like 2019 saying that Asia should be the face of this league. I've been on that way for a long time. Incredible talent and incredible personality, very charismatic on and off the court. And, you know, I think there's a lot of factors at play that impede that. But I do not think.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, I don't think you were hating in that sense, because I do think, because I know you well enough to know that you're not just saying that because you have a strong bias one way or the other. I knew that it's an opinion you have formed from actually watching. I do not like when people say that just because they don't want to see a South Carolina player succeed, or just because they don't want to see a UConn player succeed. Um, I understand biases exist, and that's fine. I don't agree with that logic. I don't think that is valid logic. But in your case, no, I don't think that was hating, and I think that's a very valid point. But I do think Asia should be the face of this league.
So it's kind of like, I guess, the NBA, the MNBA call would be like LeBron is the face of the league, but Giannis is the best player.
I would agree with that, and I think in both situations there are similar issues at play,
Yeah, I got you.
and
Like
that's,
like a
I
okay,
was just
go
gonna say
ahead.
that may sound weird to some because the obvious issue in the W would be
White black.
UConn and the racial balance at it. And if you look at the NBA side, you've got two black men, but Giannis is
Greek.
Euro, Afro, whatever. I don't know what Greek, Nigerian, Greek, whichever way it goes. I can't remember, but he is not American, and that is definitely a thing. And you could also argue that the top three players in the NBA are not American, and I think that factors into things because, as someone pointed out in regards to the W earlier, and I think this applies.
Who's the third? I'm sorry. I was like,
Some people say
oh, Embiid,
Luca
Embiid.
or
Okay,
Embiid, yeah,
okay.
but no, he has. But I would just say, like, some people point out earlier, like a lot of things in the W are still rooted in things like that, whether it be certain levels of um, innate misogyny or racial divides, whatever it may be. Like there are certain things still at play that people are sometimes scared to look at, and I think that study from last year, if you recall correctly, the study going back to your point about Asia being the face of the league, how Asia got half as much media coverage the year she won MVP when Sabrina only played 3 games. Like
A wobble.
that still is very prevalent. That is a fact you can't ignore.
Shout out to Lindsey Gibson on that. By the way, I always shout out that statistic. Shout it out in the Ryan and Nas interview, but shout out to Lindsey Gibson over there for putting that one together, because I still use that 2 years later. We're still using it, so that's a great stat.
Yeah. So I just think that there's so many factors at play, and it also factors into this conversation. Excuse me, it factors into this conversation about Lisa as well, because she talked a lot about different topics, and in the W, this is always present. You cannot talk about the W on this level without acknowledging those factors.
I guess moving forward now, uh, is there anything that the W needs to do more for its legends? I know Sabria is very vocal about that. But like, instead of just bringing them out for WNBA 25, and then like, the Raiders, the Raiders guys over there, the Davis family, they do it right by bringing everybody in for a weekend, flying everybody in, treating them first class and stuff. But other than that one franchise doing what they do, and other than the WNBA 25 celebration ceremony in the WNBA finals last year, like, what else should the league kind of be doing to include its legends and things, and not just kind of leave them by themselves?
Well, I think that also goes back to a lot of very small things. For one, everyone's retirement circumstances are different. In recent years, we've seen Simone Augustus retire very abruptly and not get much of anything from it. Like, it took a Twitter movement for the league to actively give her flowers. Like, I know,
Sylvia Fowles too.
well, I was going to get to Sil in a second, but it started with Moan, or she was one of the first major ones. Moan retired, and W Twitter got into an uproar, and I remember Jazz Taylor making a thread that really took off. And then the W was like, oh, hey, we should probably talk about Simone Augustus. Candace Dupree Sabria loves Candace Dupree, and she's still upset that she hasn't gotten a lot of love from anyone about her
Atlanta Dream
retirement.
legend Candace Dupree.
She retired very quietly. Well, and honestly, Sabria always says that she was kind of forced into retirement. And I don't think the W has ever acknowledged that. And she's what, like 4th or 6th all time in points
Yeah, now
or
she's going
something,
to
like she's
San
up there.
Antonio. I mean, she's going in
Yeah,
the
now she's going to
footsteps
coach.
of. So now is it going to be a thing of, like if Pop doesn't give her the job, and then she goes to the W, is it going to be a thing where she gets her flowers like kind of delayed, like Becky, or
Well, see, the thing is, it shouldn't be delayed. She should have already had them. They should have been given. And I was just gonna move one step forward. After those two, we get to the Sil Sue of this year. And really up until All-Star break, when Sue Bird herself was like, y'all remember Sylvia Fowles is right there, right? Like, it was still very one-sided. And even in certain, and then we also have Brian January, who was there, like also
it
another,
was just like that. The last game, it was like, and Brian January,
yeah,
the
like
complete.
just kind of,
But I mean,
it's
I think it's also like you have to look. Okay, so Candace, I'll say this for Candace Dupree, of course, because Candace Parker probably is retired as well, and what I'm saying, it's just waiting to like tell us in February or March.
after
Because
the way the sky went out. I don't think so, but
I don't
continue.
know. She said I don't want to do this if I can't, if I'm gonna cheat the game. I don't want to cheat the game. But all right. So
Uh,
Candice Dupree. Oh, go ahead, Bailey.
No, finish your thought.
Okay, well, Candice Dupree, with Candice Dupree and Brienne January, like it's like if Brienne was on Connecticut this year, and if Candice Dupree was on like Phoenix or Chicago, as opposed to Seattle, then getting cut, then going to Atlanta for the last 2 weeks of the regular season, like if they were with the franchises they were known for, I think it would have been, you would have seen that a little more.
And that's very true, very valid. But again, that should not matter. Like when Patrick Ewing retired or when Shaquille O'Neal retired and they
Vince
were
Carter.
Whoever you can name, that didn't matter. Paul Pierce, that didn't matter. Like, obviously it means
No. PP did not get his farewell tour. They did not
okay.
love him like
Well,
that.
I'm just
He
naming,
was
like,
indeed not Kobe.
this is facts. This is very true. But I'm just saying, like, those are games legends and they got their love regardless of where they were. It should not be exclusive to that. And it shouldn't take one player that's retiring speaking up for another legend that's retiring as well, especially for a legend with a better resume. But again, there are those factors at play that boil down to the way the league constructed it. And at the end of the day, people are going to point to numbers, jersey sales, click rates, whatever they look to. But Sue Bird versus Sylvia Fowles is not something that just arose this year. This has been in play every year of their careers. This has been in play, like, and this is not the first person or first matchup of this nature. And so, to me, like, that's one of the things I love about W Twitter is that you can tangibly see the impact they're having on these discussions, and people like Subria, like you, like Chris, like 808s, like these are people that are leading these conversations and making very tangible change. But at the end of the day, as the league that we're talking about, the W should know these things.
No, 100%. Like Angel, like Chani, just shout them out as well. And then now wrapping up, we're at the last couple minutes that you have here. So I do want to ask you about Kennedy. Does Kennedy find God this offseason? Does Shanae play basketball next season? What does LA do?
Oh gosh. So there's this W space about free agency Friday, and I hopped in and did a quick rebuild of the Sparks in this offseason. I don't know if I told you about this, but I'm glad you brought this up. I didn't know this was coming. So you caught me off guard a bit. But Janae's definitely playing again. I'm gonna go ahead and say that.
Are you sure?
Uh
Because she just got announced to the new cast of NBA Countdown.
yeah, but she's definitely playing again. Last year, I think, really revitalized her career. And she did what she just turned 30, I believe. So, revamp. And she's gonna go wherever NECA goes, and I think they're both gonna be sparks. Hopefully. NECA seemed very committed to at least seeing what the team does and giving it at least to me. I wouldn't be surprised if she signs like a 2-year with some sort of option in second. But anyway, in terms of Kennedy, she signed with a new entertainment agency, Angel McCoughtry's agency. I saw that recently. It's like R Star Sports and Entertainment.
Shout
She
out
was
to Angel, the queen of Atlanta basketball, by the way, who's coming out with her new documentary, I believe, at the end of the year. I don't know if that's announced, if that's public. If that's not, my bad.
she is a member of that, and she was also in Adidas's marketing campaign that I saw go around today about the Wakanda Black Panther collection with NECA and Shanae. I saw Amanda Zawi be in there as well. So I think that's a good sign because I don't remember seeing her in anything like that in a while. So happy to see that.
And she was also in the 2K music, the 2K soundtrack.
Who, Angel?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw that. But I was talking about Kennedy.
Oh, shout out to Kennedy as well, man.
Yeah,
Shout out to Adidas, like you said, 3
yeah,
stripes.
Kennedy's
Hey,
in.
shout out to
So
Ye, free Ye.
okay, I don't know about all that, but yes, I'd like to think Kennedy's doing well. I don't think she's hooping overseas. I think she's still hooping stateside. So it allows her to really focus. She's been kind of quiet about her own personal processes. So I'm really not sure, but I I still think her being in LA is a great fit for her. I just think that when the team has more structure, which hopefully they will this year, more accountability, more validity, more legitimacy in the league, more being a more competitive team will help her. And I do think this year, I was really high on her having a good year last year, and she played fine when she had the minutes. She didn't just get the minutes. I think she'll get them this year. I think if they get a coach that's willing to play her, she will silence a lot of doubters. I think personally.
Well, I'm always rocking to the wheels fall off with Kennedy Hollywood. That's my favorite player in the league. That's my favorite player in the world. People always know that if you go on this channel. But anyways, top 4 picks. I don't know who the 4th one would be now because the 4th one that I had in mind was the Kennesaw State, the Kansas State center, Ioka Lee. And, she's out for the season now, so she's off the table. So the big 3 is Haley Jones, Leah Boston, of course, and Ashley Jones. So you got a wing, you got a 4 tweener, and then you got a big, just a complete kind of 5. Out of those 3, if, Los Angeles get a top 3 pick, who would you, I guess, what positional kind of like need or anything would you say you would take right there?
I have no idea how they could secure a top 3 pick,
Hey,
but
they don't, yeah, y'all don't have me on pick out this year?
no, do
Y'all
not own your
traded?
own.
Who y'all
Traded it,
traded?
traded it last year for the Jasmine Walker pick.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why I've said a couple times before, like the stains of Derek Fisher will not be gone until at least the draft of this year. And I
That's
say at least
terrible.
because no, it's bad. But if they were to make some sort of bombshell move and trade into that, it would strongly depend on what they move. But hypothetically, let's just say hypothetically they had a top 3 pick with the roster they have now. I think they would need Haley Jones because the wing last year was such a bare spot for this team. Like the roster went from Brittany Sykes at 5'11" to NECA at 6'2.5". Like there was nothing in between. And they ran a lot of 3-guard sets, but there were a lot of nights where that was really hard, especially with their guard rotation not having shooters. And I think Haley Jones, I'm not sure how good of a straight shooter she is, but she adds enough of a different pacing, a different view to the game and her playmaking ability. I think she would be a great fit. Now, hypothetically speaking, if they were to trade up for the number 1 pick and somehow that would probably cost a pretty penny, then that would probably take away some of their big depth, which would mean Aaliyah Boston. I think Aaliyah Boston's the number 1 pick. I think she's the top player in the draft.
Right. She's number 1 wherever. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I was trying to put it together. I was like, I don't know if you guys need that. Like,
I don't think that with the roster is currently constructed, but if a team was to ask the right price, then that would open that up. But yeah, if they, I don't know. This draft is weird to project after the top couple picks. I've seen a lot of people talking about players having COVID years and players eligibilities being kind of all over the place. Like, kind of tough to project right now. But if they could sneak in and grab a wing, that'd be cool. I do think they need to target some wings in free agency. That was one of my targets on my list. We cannot go into this next year with the lack of shooting and spacing from that spot that we had. So in my hypothetical, a couple of things I did, just for fun, re-sign Lexi Brown was a top priority. Core Brittany Sykes was my move. You let Jordan Canada walk. She's very redundant. So Amanda Zabi is
another reason why you don't need Leah. Okay,
well,
but
no.
I'm gonna let you
Amanda
finish.
Zabi is on suspended contract, so she's technically a free agent now. And
Wow.
I personally question if she's going to come back to the team after the way they did her with
Different
Liz.
people.
And so I don't think she comes back, but I also, because she's suspended, I don't know how exactly that works. If you had to do a sign and trade, if she can walk, I think she can walk. So I want them to make a play for Izzy and replace her with Izzy.
Wow.
Yeah. Energy, different type of creativity. And that I don't think that would interfere with the other bigs. I think it would work well. And my dream fit would be them somehow finding a package to make a play for Kelsey Mitchell.
To bringing, like, yeah, I mean, you speak about, we talk all the time about, just like, oh, this player didn't get enough attention, and why are we talking about Ryan Howard, and why isn't Lee, like, Tiffany Mitchell is like the diehards, they know, like, most underrated player in the league, most underrated star in the league. Never an all-star because her team's always the worst
Always,
team.
but such a solid player. And I think the Fever are at a point now where they can choose to go in a different direction.
Where does Sky go?
Where did Sky Who go?
Where does Skylar Diggins go this offseason? Skylar Diggins Smith.
I would love for her to be in LA. I wrote a piece about possibly making
she's going to
get.
So the LA Sparks are going to get Skylar Diggins Smith and Tiffany Mitchell.
No. I've seen Kelsey Mitchell, man. We don't need
Kelsey Mitchell. I'm sorry,
but I've seen some people predicting that Skylar ends up in LA. They have a ton of cap space and a lot of roster spots. I think that would really boil down to who they hire. They've got to fill both their GM and their coach spots. And I think nothing moved. Like, that's got to be your number 1 priority. Like, it's got to be get a good coach, get a good GM, not the same person, actually interview multiple people, and, actually vet your options, your candidates, make the right choice for this team. Then you throw a blank check at NECA, throw a blank check at Brittany Sykes. And then from there, like, you just make something shake. Like, again, I think re-signing Lexi is a priority. They may disagree. And I think, then you'll have, with just those re-signed people, you'll have a decent core in place, and then you go find pieces to elevate it further.
All right, Bailey. Well, we appreciate the time so much. It went a little over, I believe. And he's got the WNBA jam right there. Like, let the people know. Show him real quick. Hold on.
Gang,
Well, there it is. Bailey, let the people know where they can find you and Outlet Pass and the pod and everything else.
Our pod is currently, so this is an announcement. You're going to get into special news. Our pod is currently, how do I put this? Rebranding, I guess is maybe the word. But I'll break that down for you. So we were with Sports Ethos, and we have opted to move away from Sports Ethos. And the deal we had, they said that we can't use the name. So we've got to rebrand it and retool it. So that's in the works. Stay tuned. But our goal is to bring it to Outlet Pass and put it on YouTube, like here. You can find me at sir_richmond20 on Twitter and on Instagram. You've probably seen me. I can be a little chaotic, I guess. Some people tell me I'm a W Twitter celebrity. I don't know. I hopped into space the other night. Did you were in the group chat with me and Chris? I hopped into space the other night and they were talking about a throwaway tweet that people that don't even follow me were sharing to this Jumbotron. And I'm like, oh wow, I'm really a celebrity out here. I got motion. But yeah, you can follow me there. And I might be doing some Grizz coverage over Outlet Pass this year. I'm not sure yet, but at Outlet Pass BB is where we are. We're looking to build our brand more this upcoming season. So yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where you can find me.
Y'all follow, y'all support, and all that good stuff. I'm a Milligan.
Vitamin D is all on my body. Drinking out water, I don't put a Molly. New kicks in my feet like I do karate.
Hey, Rashad.